So what are you waiting for? Christmas? There's an exclusive look at the end of time on the Doctor Who website. And if you're thirsty for more, go behind the scenes on the waters of Mars. It's Doctor Who Confidential in full flow on BBC.
The Doctor's on Mars.
Something's going wrong.
And stay right where you are. A taster of what's to come when the story continues on New Year's Day at 6:40. Some familiar... It's 3.
That's a severe gale quite easily across the Irish Sea. Wrapped around it, there's that frontal system, so another spell of rain. Again, 30 millimetres, I'd have thought was a possibility, but maybe more annoyingly, to put it mildly, is the strength of wind piling up the waves, lifting the tide once again on the Lancashire and the Cumbrian coast. And next week doesn't improve matters at all. Although it doesn't look as though at any time it will be as consistently wet, you are going to have spells of windy and wet weather throughout the week. Monday looks particularly good for Edinburgh, Glasgow, Newcastle. Belfast might be showery, but Tuesday I wouldn't argue is. Rain's back here, you'll notice, but not necessarily heavy. Come down to Leeds and Manchester, so we're around the area of northern England we're watching, and it looks dry for both days. The rain is further south. Coventry looks rather dark in the cloud on Monday, but maybe the rain itself doesn't show itself much north of the M4 corridor. Maybe as far north as Birmingham, but for Plymouth and Cardiff it's almost a certainty that it'll be raining on Monday and at least cloudy on Tuesday. So the worst is over, but it doesn't mean it's bone dry, nor indeed quiet, for days to come. Good night.
If you're driving in rain, think.
A boy stabbed someone to death, but who's guilty? The one with the knife, the one looking on, the one who turns away, or all of the above? If the law is sending bystanders to prison, could your child be in the wrong place at the wrong time? Panorama, Lethal Enterprise, Monday at 8:30 on BBC One.
Well, that's it. Hope you enjoyed Children in Need Night, and many thanks if you were able to make a donation. Time for us here on BBC One now to join the BBC News channel.
Attacks by Somali pirates this year have now reached a record high, already exceeding the total for 2008. And the hijacking of civilian traffic has gone on despite the international naval coalition deployed off the coast of Somalia. The BBC's Middle East correspondent Paul Wood is on board the flagship of the European Union's anti-piracy task force.
These are dangerous waters for civilian vessels, despite the presence of warships like the Dutch Evertsen. The EU's anti-piracy task force patrols an area the size of Western Europe, so help could be days away. And even then, the immense firepower of a naval frigate can't always be used against the pirates.
Well, it's not so much an enemy. That would sound like a war, and we're doing legal work with military means. They're very adaptive. They react to what we do. And they have a very large area where they can start from, the Somali coast, which is thousands of miles long.
Why can't you just blow them out of the water?
Well, because in the Western world we like to have due process in legal issues. It would be the same as if somebody in London looking like a burglar would be shot on sight. We just don't do that.
In this vast ocean, they're looking for pirate skiffs or speedboats just a few meters long. Even with helicopters, that can be difficult. The pirates often see them coming and dump their weapons over the side. Usually that means the EU task force has to let them go.
When we boarded the skiff, we found nothing of piracy things, and the story was they were fishermen, but we found nothing that explains that they are fishermen. No fish, no smell of fish, no fishing gear. So for us it was a very clear case that they did the attack, and that was not good enough for the public prosecutor in the Netherlands to say, well, this is a clear case, we put it into trial. And that was a very, very bad moment.
10 merchant ships like this one lie at anchor off the Somali coast, more than 200 crew captive. The EU force could overwhelm the hijackers, but the commandos drilling here won't be sent in. The risk to the hostages is too great. Once in possession of a ship, the chances are pirates will collect their ransom. These forces have cut attacks north of Somalia, here in the Gulf of Aden. That's a significant achievement. 20% of the world's shipping moves through here towards the Suez Canal. But the pirates haven't gone away, just moved further south. All of this naval firepower is certainly a potent deterrent, but the pirates are remarkably persistent. Piracy in these waters could well be a problem as long as there is chaos and instability in Somalia itself. Paul Wood, BBC News, in the Gulf of Aden.
This is BBC News. Still ahead. The window cleaner who fell 8 floors, bounced and lived to tell the tale. The Archbishop of Canterbury, Rowan Williams, is in Rome for a crucial meeting with Pope Benedict aimed at easing the growing tensions between them. Robert Piggott has a story.
In Rome tonight, Rowan Williams is preparing to meet the Pope. He chose to preach at a church whose purpose is to bring people of different faiths closer to the Roman Catholic Church. On another recent visit, Dr. Williams and Pope Benedict were celebrating their own closer relations.
It was a visit filled with great promise. As the Anglican Communion and the Catholic Church took steps towards initiating a dialogue.
But 3 years later, and after what some see as high-handed interference in the Anglican Church, that dialogue seems to have become rather more strained. Pope Benedict's offer, which he said he made only in response to pleas for help from Anglicans, is a generous one. There'll be a special section of the Roman Catholic Church for former Anglicans. Married Anglican clergy would be allowed to become Catholic priests, and Anglican bishops could lead the new congregations.
It will become our spiritual drink.
Father Geoffrey Kirk is an Anglican vicar, but soon he'll be a Roman Catholic priest.
Body of Christ.
Father Kirk's a traditionalist who's taking up the Pope's invitation partly because he opposes the creation of women bishops by the Church of England.
It believes that it can change things which it has always maintained that it had in common with the whole Catholic Church, and I wonder what it's going to change next.
The Pope, on the other hand, does not want change. He wants to put a brake on recent modernisation in the Catholic Church.
He likes the history, he likes the old liturgy, but I think what's going on in this case is he's trying to attract back, in a sense, the traditionalists.
Dr. Williams left Lambeth Palace for Rome, refusing requests for interviews. But speaking in Rome last night, he dismissed the Pope's offer as doing little to advance relations between the churches. Dr. Williams even suggested it was the Catholics' refusal to create women priests and bishops that stood in the way of greater unity. But while Rome restricts priesthood to men, it will continue to attract traditionalist Anglicans fed up with their own church. Robert Piggott, BBC News in South London.
You're watching BBC News. A reminder of the headlines. The heaviest rainfall on record has caused widespread floods in northwest England and Scotland. More rain is forecast for the weekend. 200 European football matches are being investigated in what's being described as the biggest ever match-fixing scandal. Well, let's bring you more now on one of our top stories this hour, the floods in northwest England and the south of Scotland following the heaviest rainfall on record. We can speak now to Assistant Chief Constable Jerry Graham from Cumbria Police, who's been coordinating the response of the emergency services. Thank you very much indeed for taking the time to talk to us. Can you tell us what the latest is with the rescue operation?
Good morning. Yes, the rescue operation is ongoing. Things have quietened down during last evening. We've had some respite because the rain has stopped, or at least been much more intermittent, and we've taken that opportunity to try and knock on doors in the areas affected, principally Cockermouth and Workington, and just check that people are all right and make sure that people are in their homes and that we haven't missed anybody during the heavy rain, any elderly or vulnerable people. We've also been taking the opportunity to prepare for what might be coming later today and tomorrow. Our information from the Environment Agency is we're going to get further heavy rain today, Saturday, and tomorrow. We're hoping it's not going to be as pronounced as it has been over the last 24 hours. Nevertheless, with all the standing water, we're preparing for further problems.
So you're obviously in a state of readiness for any further rainfall. But what is the advice you're giving to people at the moment in the area, particularly around Cockermouth and Workington?
Well, we're asking people to listen to the radio, to watch television, and keep an eye on the information in relation to the weather. One of the issues for us is for people to make early contact with emergency services if they feel that their property or that they are in danger. Give us an early call and we will get them out of the house. What we've seen somewhat in the last 24 hours is people who understandably want to stay in their house because they feel safe in their home, and then the rainwaters rise and they call us too late. And if they leave it to the last minute, they not only put themselves in danger, but they put the emergency services in danger. So it's just to keep an eye on what's going on, check on neighbours, check on particularly vulnerable neighbours, and stay away from bridges. As you know, we've had bridges come down with tragic results in the last 24 hours. We've got structural engineers checking other bridges on the River Eden and the Derwent, and we are encouraging the public to stay away from bridges.
Now, of course, you alluded to that tragic incident in Workington, the bridge that came down. Your colleague, PC Bill Barker, is there anything you would like to add to that?
Well, Cumbria Police are in mourning this morning for our colleague Bill Barker. You know, we think about his wife Hazel and his family, and I've been on duty now for the last 17, 18 hours, and I've seen an awful lot of very sad people, police staff in Cumbria Constabulary, but we are determined to get on and do the job that we're paid to do, which is protect and support the people of Cumbria. So at one level we are mourning for our colleague, and we will do that for days and weeks to come, but we're quite determined together with colleagues from other emergency services to do what we need to do in the short term, which is protect the communities of Cumbria.
Assistant Chief Constable Jerry Graham, thank you once again for taking the time out to speak to us.
Thank you very much.
Now, the huge job of overhauling America's healthcare system takes a critical step this weekend with a test vote in the US Senate. But with Republicans and Democrats so divided, can they possibly pass a bill before the end of the year? Here's Catty Kay.
Rarely have 2,074 pages of legislation been the focus of quite so much attention. This innocent-looking stack of paper is the Senate's healthcare bill, and it will be the star act of Washington's weekend.
Next vote will occur tomorrow night at 8 p.m., Saturday, November 21st. That vote will be on the motion to invoke cloture on the motion to proceed to the healthcare legislation.
Confusing, I know. To translate, this weekend senators will vote on whether or not to begin debate on their healthcare reform bill. It's sort of a vote to vote. Democrats need 60 votes to pass this first hurdle, and even that's not sure.
We're not assuming a thing. We're working hard to bring all Democrats together for the 60 votes necessary to proceed to this historic debate. It would be a real break if one Republican would join us and say, yes, this is an issue worth debating. I hope they will, but if they don't, I'm hoping that we can muster our ranks of 60 to stand together.
This is deal time in the Senate, a time of fervid whispered calls and urgent emails to win over those final undecided votes. Just 2 moderate Democrats who are unhappy with the bill's public option are still on the fence. They are now being courted and called by all sides.
In those more conservative states represented by more moderate Democrats, opposition runs even greater than 2-to-1 against this plan. In view of that, it would be our hope that our more moderate colleagues on the Democratic side would respect the wishes of their constituents rather than do the bidding of Harry Reid.
Republicans have slammed the bill as a deficit-busting, premium-raising nightmare. They are united in voting no tomorrow night, meaning all the more pressure on Democrats to hold their own. It's going to be a very long weekend.
Catty K. The United Nations Refugee Agency is reporting more than 50,000 people have fled clashes between two ethnic groups in the north of the Democratic Republic of Congo. The UNHCR says most of those displaced have crossed into neighbouring Congo-Brazzaville. Many are believed to be unaccompanied children. The agency says at least 100 people have died in the latest violence. Iran is facing fresh criticism for failing to accept a compromise over its nuclear program. The 6 major powers who put forward the plan for Iran's uranium to be processed abroad and then sent back for civilian use said they were disappointed. Earlier, they called discussions in Brussels a unique but fleeting opportunity for an agreement. Now, a window cleaner who fell 8 stories from a building in Seattle was saved only by his safety rope. Dramatic security footage shows the man hitting the ground only to bounce back.
In an alley in Seattle, CCTV cameras record a terrifying scene. Look at the car in the top left of your picture. That figure hitting the ground is a 34-year-old window cleaner, to the astonishment of people who saw it.
Holy cow, this guy hit the ground, it looks like, and bounced back up.
Witnesses inside the building saw the man plummet from the 8th floor, screaming and slamming into a window on his way down.
We heard some yelling. We looked over the window. We saw a body come through the 7th floor window, and then he fell. He continued to fall.
But just inches before hitting the ground, something happened.
He was free falling when he actually hit the window and kept going, but his ropes were still attached, so his safety gear saved him from actually hitting the ground.
Amazingly, the window cleaner not only survived, but reports are the worst injury he sustained after a fall this dramatic was a broken little finger. Emma North, BBC News.
Lucky man. The BBC's annual Children Aid event has been taking place here at Television Centre in London. Some of my fellow newsreaders took part in the festivities. The charitable event, one of the world's biggest telethons, raised more than £20 million this year, slightly less than last year. The money helps deprived children across the UK. Our main news again, forecasters in Britain are predicting more rain is likely to fall in the Cumbria region during the next 24 hours as the emergency services deal with the flooding which has inundated the region.
On BBC One, BBC News for you.
This morning, the mausoleum where Presley's body will lie was literally surrounded by the Berlin Wall, which for years has been the most potent symbol of the division of Europe. Nelson Mandela has been released from jail and is making his first public speech in 27 years. In this election, at this defining moment, change has come to America.
The BBC News website is available on your mobile.
Now, some news that's been developing in the past half hour. We have pictures
BBC News would like to draw your attention to the fact that you can watch BBC News live online at bbc.co.uk/news. BBC News, whenever you need to know.
Hello. Now, having grown up in Cumbria, I can tell you Cumbrians are no strangers to wet weather, but of course nobody in living memory has seen anything like this. Seathwaite, a renowned wet spot, in fact the wettest spot in England, saw 372 millimetres, well over a foot of rain. So imagine all that sitting on the lake and fells and then ploughing down through the river systems. This is the normal aerial view of Cockermouth. You can see the way the river sort of snakes, meanders through the town. But of course, as that amount of water came rushing down the river system, it just had nowhere to go. So it spilt over the banks and, well, we've seen the results. It's taking a long time to go down. There is more rain on the way, different order of magnitude, maybe 40 millimetres, so way, way less. But it's not going to help, of course, with a clear-up operation. That rain pushing in steadily from the west during Saturday. So wet in Northern Ireland, then wet in Scotland, England and Wales, particularly through the afternoon. Coming in from a different direction, though. So I think it's going to be the eastern side, the southeast of the Cumbrian Fells that gets the worst of it. But also the southeast of Scotland looking like getting some particularly heavy downpours coming through. And again, the river systems here are still fairly high at the moment, so that's not going to be terribly good news. Northern Ireland, though, everything clearing up through the afternoon, so you should end up with some sunshine before the end of the day, I suspect. And that drier weather also getting in to the west of Wales, Pembrokeshire particularly, and across Cornwall too. Notice the winds, pretty brisk, coming in from the south or southwest. Very mild direction, and temperatures as a result up around 14 or 15 degrees. We've seen this sort of temperature day after day recently. Pretty mild for the time of year. That rain getting across into the eastern side of England, London and the southeast through the afternoon, and here it's going to be a particularly wet evening. But watch the way the rain soon pushes away through the evening from Cumbria, fortunately. A few showers falling on behind, but they'll be fairly scattered and nothing like as heavy. They'll tend to push through. The winds will be picking up overnight, so that means the temperatures won't fall away very much through Saturday night into the early part of Sunday. 7 or 8 degrees, the lowest anywhere. But then the wind's a real feature of the weather on Sunday itself. Gales, maybe severe gales, sweeping in through the Irish Sea, and they'll drive showers in towards the northwest of England, perhaps merging to give a longer spell of rain for a time. But again, maybe 10-15 millimetres, nothing more than that. But still, we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Temperatures lower as well. It will feel cooler in those strong winds, 8 to 11 degrees the high. Now, obviously, I'm sure there must be people in Cumbria still concerned. Radio Cumbria, so we'll have regular updates for you throughout the day.
Hello, I'm Juliette Dunlop with the main news. More than 1,000 homes have been evacuated in Cumbria after the heaviest rainfall ever recorded in the UK. As the rescue operation continues, emergency services are urging people to contact them if they need to be moved immediately. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister has led tributes to PC Bill Barker, a police officer who was killed after being washed away by floodwaters. Scientists have restarted the Large Hadron Collider, the giant machine housed in a tunnel under the Swiss-French border. It's hoped it will unlock some of the mysteries about the creation of the universe. The collider broke down soon after its inauguration 14 months ago. Police in Germany say they're investigating the fixing of around 200 European football matches. It's been described as the continent's biggest ever betting scandal. The British couple held by Somali pirates for nearly a month have said their captors are losing patience and they fear they could be killed within a week. Paul and Rachel Chandler have urged the British government and their own families to open negotiations. The Foreign Office has called for their immediate release but has said it doesn't pay ransom to hostage takers. The BBC's annual Children in Need event has been taking place here at Television Centre in London. Some of my colleagues have been taking part in the festivities. So far, the charitable event, one of the world's biggest telethons, has raised more than £20 million. Well, these are all the very latest headlines. Now on BBC News, it's time for the Record Review.
Hello and welcome to the official state opening Record Review. We bring you pageantry and politics.
All the pageantry in the world cannot cover up the fact that this is a fantasy Queen's speech.
Action on bank bonuses, regulations so that agency workers are never again denied the rights other workers have.
Instead, we got a Queen's speech that is just a Labour press release on Palace parchment.
Yes, the glitter of the state opening of Parliament. But 20 years ago, it was the first time you would have been able to watch the Queen's Speech debate on TV. Cameras in the Commons made their debut appearance. But is everyone happy?
I was opposed to the televising of the House of Commons 20 years ago, and I'm opposed to it now for precisely the same reasons.
Later, we'll hear the views of two people who were in at the start of a piece of broadcasting history. Also, what is the secret of the success of Britain's most popular First Minister? But first, it was a Queen's Speech that prompted plenty of controversy. Not so much about the contents of the 13 bills that Her Majesty read out on Wednesday, but about just how many would get through before the general election. The parliamentary weeks are fast running out. But if it's November, well, there has to be a Queen's Speech.
My government is committed to ensuring everyone has a fair chance in life and will continue to take forward legislation to promote equality, narrow the gap between rich and poor, and tackle discrimination. The bill would also introduce transparency in the workplace to help address the differences in pay between men and women.
A social care bill that will ease the anxieties and give new rights to thousands of elderly people. The first ever digital economy bill. The first ever legislation to abolish child poverty. The second historic climate change and energy bill. For pupils, the first guarantee to catch up tuition. Making parents also responsible for antisocial behaviour of their children.
Instead of the measures in the Queen's Speech, most of which won't become law by the next election, the expenses changes, the Kelly changes, could become law by the next election. So let me give him another chance. Now he's finished consulting with the shadow leader. Let him stand up now and tell us that together we can pass the laws to implement Kelly in full. He tells us he's serious about cleaning up politics, but when it comes to the crunch, absolutely nothing. We have some bills which cynically raise expectations, but which the government knows will deliver far less than they're promising. The bill to outlaw cluster bombs sounds great, when in fact we know it will actually only outlaw some cluster bombs. And the bill supposedly to deliver free personal care. After the Prime Minister's media interviews this morning, there will be tens of thousands of elderly people up and down Britain who have been led to believe that they will be properly looked after from now on. Yet it won't happen.
The reaction of the party leaders to Wednesday